Hey guys, so here's another video showing the progress of my necklace. Now this video you'll see I'm doing a lot of the beadwork around Aughra's face here, and I thought I'd do a bit more of a focused video on this section because it's a technique I use in a lot of my beadwork. If anyone watching is familiar with some of my other necklaces and my beadwork, you've probably seen some of this more three-dimensional beadwork that I do, and I start by using the bugle beads. Now what I do is actually create a ladder stitch on top of the stiff stuff so that the bugle beads are standing upwards, and I like to use a variety of sizes of bugle beads, and I keep it quite organic a lot of the time just because that's my natural style. So, and in particular for this piece I wanted it very organic because it was to sort of mimic or expand on the crystal that's underneath Aughra's face. So I've used like a purple iris colour for the beads, which is very similar to the finish that's on the crystal, and you can see how I've done these lines. I'm now doing the line on the other side of Aughra's face, which is not straight, it's very organic like the stone itself, but it does curve around the shape of the stone, filling in the gap that's still left there. Now I'm doing another row, so I decided I wanted 2 rows in this case. When I've used this technique before, sometimes I'll do multiple rows of this sort of stitch, and what I really love doing is then embedding crystals in between those rows of bugle beads. But quite often I'll use a variety of sizes of bugles, which I'm doing right here. So I had a smaller size and then I've gone in with a larger size. And again, it just adds to that really organic shape. Instead of it being all the same size, it is then undulating and changing shape, as well as you know, forming like a really organic line because I'm purposely making that shape with the beadwork. I just really felt that this would work really perfectly for this necklace because I could then have a lot of the crystals in there and have it like it's bursting forth from the circle, and again also just expanding and mimicking that crystal underneath Aughra's face there. So I went ahead and did the same thing for the other side. They're not symmetrical, I don't want them to be symmetrical, but I am creating similar shapes on both sides. Now when I've done different size bugle beads, the trick then is I want a nice kind of slope that goes from one size to the next. I don't want it to suddenly jump up, and you'll see a bit more why later. But so I am using a brick stitch, and I'm just adding a few beads here and there to slope up from the one size bugle to the other, and then I also added a few next to the bugles so that it would, you know, slope up from the stiff stuff up to the top bugles and then slope back down again. I hope that makes sense. Now once I've done all of that work, I actually go on top of it all with a back stitch, funnily enough, and that's because it then sits the seed beads on their side and gives a nice line. And I'm anchoring that back stitch with the stitches that I've used between the bugles and with the brick stitch and that sort of thing. So that gives me enough anchor points to be able to do a back stitch over the top of this line of bugle beads and seed beads. It is fiddly and it does take a little bit of practice, but I really love the way this looks. Again, I've used a like an iris purple colour. This time it's a matte version of that, and I just love all the colours and the richness of that, and I thought that worked in really well. I tried a few other colours, purples and things like that, and I wasn't quite happy with them, but I really loved this oil slick colour, and I actually quite liked it being matte because it still let the crystal be the brightest thing there. Now once I'd done that, I did decide I wanted one more row around the circle, and I picked a really vibrant Silverline purple. This is a Delica, I believe I used. Actually, no, I think this was a size 15 round that I used. In a high metallic purple from memory, and I love the way this looks because it really does then bring a sense of that vibrant purple that I think you really do associate with the dark crystal, and I liked the size variation as well. So you can see I've gone all the way around that circle again where I could. Obviously the one of the resin crystals does penetrate that circle shape, so I can't go all the way through that. But every other part I decided to surround with the purple. And now you'll see I start to add those crystals I mentioned earlier between the bugle beads. So I try and fit the largest sizes that I can in here, and I'm quite happy for it to push the bugles, the rows of bugles apart a little, because it just adds another depth of shape to it. But I also didn't want the bugles to then start covering up that circle shape, so it was a bit of a tricky, you know, size decision for each bit, because I really wanted you, when you looked at it, to see that circle shape around Aughra. But then I, where possible, was happy for this to sort of flare out and really show those crystals between the bugle beads. Now I did try using pearl at one stage, but I realised I didn't like the look of pearls in there, and I really decided I wanted strictly to use crystal colours and no sort of pearly colours. So I'm just using what they call a stop stitch, and that just simply means that you use a bead as a stopper. So, you know, you sew up through something, you put your crystal or whatever it is, and then you put a smaller bead that's just large enough that it won't go through the hole of the other bead, and then you go back down through the bead again and through the foundation of the stiff stuff, and it just holds the crystal right at that point. You can also make it more of a fringe, as in you can add a few smaller beads, then a larger bead, then a smaller bead, making it a bit more of a larger fringe, but I was mainly just using stop stitch here. And you can see the colours there. I've used a mottle of different purple beads. They're a range of like Preciosa beads, Swarovski crystal bicones, other faceted glass that I had on hand, and I've just gone with colours that I like and nothing too large so that it fits in there. Alright guys, well this is where it's at the moment. I hope you've enjoyed this series and you do subscribe to see what's coming next. And I'll keep you updated with how the necklace goes. Thanks for tuning in guys. See you craft nerds.